Hello, I'm Dhanya Rajendran. A few days ago, we published a profile on the News Minute and News Laundry of Sridhar Vembu, the businessman. Most of you know him as the former CEO of Zoho or the current chief scientist, a man who built that company and a man who bats for everything Swadeshi. And some of you who follow his social media profiles would know that in the last few years, after settling down in India, he's also made his tilt towards right wing ideology very clear. So, this long profile by Indulekha Aravind has explored all these angles: how Sridhar Vembu and his family built Zoho, what Vembu means to the BJP and the Sangh Parivar, and a very contentious divorce case in California. So, joining me in the studio is Indulekha. Indu, few months ago we did the Nikhil Kamath profile.
Yeah.
Some people liked it, a lot of people asked, why did you do this profile? But Sridhar Vembu is much more in the news than Nikhil Kamath, and not always for the right reasons. But why did you decide to profile Vembu?
So the decision to do a profile on Vembu, I'd say, is slightly different from Nikhil, because Nikhil, while he's very much out there, there had been no in-depth, deep dive profile of him as such. Sridhar, on the other hand, he's got a lot of press coverage over the years, and especially in the last few years after he moved back to India. But a lot of it tended to focus on, how he built Zoho, whatever he says on social media, and
And don't miss that he's lungi, what is it? He's dhoti clad and cycling in the fields.
yes, yes. So those images, I'm sure everyone watching this would also be familiar with. So those angles had been explored, but like we discussed, there wasn't really one single profile that went deep into his other aspects. And we have to remember that Sridhar Vembu is not just your regular IT software billionaire, of which we have no lack. He's also someone who's very vocal about a lot of other things, as you know, if you follow him on social media. And increasingly, he's ever since he moved back to India, he's become a very influential figure for the ruling BJP government, and for the right wing Sangh Parivar, so to speak, because he seems to embody a lot of their policies, principles, and he's someone who is a success story at the end of the day and a very influential figure. So it made sense, especially considering elections are coming up in Tamil Nadu. The whole Swadeshi philosophy, pitch is getting a lot more traction in India now because of geopolitical reasons, among others. And Sridhar is in the thick of all this. Seemed a good time to explore.
So he seems to be a good person also to explore, because there are lots of facets of his behavior.
Yeah.
And unlike an Adani or Ambani, who are also billionaires, they are not putting out their ideology every day on Twitter for people to see. So he's also out there more and talking about things.
And in a slightly different way. I mean, we're all used to business people saying good things about the government in power, whichever party it is, whichever state it is. But Sridhar is, very out there about his support, and it's only got more intense, I would say, over the years. He doesn't, shy away from, long posts supporting the Prime Minister, and, even at the local level in Tamil Nadu.
So for this, you traveled to Tengasi, you met people in Chennai. Very quickly, you have looked at the rise of Zoho, right? And this is a company which has been successful, and there is a lot to be envious about that, which is the reason why he has got so many admirers. A man and his family rather, who's built up a company which we can truly say is an Indian product competing with global entities.
Yeah, it's Zoho is a different kind of software success story, I'd say, because one, it's a product company, unlike Infosys, Wipro, etc., which are service companies, which also make it a key part of the whole make in India ethos. And of course, the other important reason why a lot of people admire him, or he's held up as an icon, role model, is that the company has never taken external funding, never taken money from either venture capitalists or the public markets, and it's grown slowly over the years, very steadily, and currently it's doing very well. And in fact, the across the various people that I interviewed for story, including people who are critics and detractors, nobody took away from the fact that he has built this company into this multi-billion-dollar firm based out of Chennai that's serving a global clientele.
So, to all those watching, do go and read the profile. I mean, it's going to get interesting from now. So, there's one thing which stood out for me. It was about how this Zoho had an intranet, basically communication within the company where people could post. And there's one person who was forced to leave after he questioned the role of the RSS in the freedom struggle. And Sridhar Vembu, who till then had been a big vocal supporter of freedom of expression, suddenly decides that's not the case anymore. And this man writes a blog, right? This happens in 2017, this whole
Yeah.
fallout. So from then is when the trajectory sort of shifts towards the right wing. And that was evident to the people in the company also.
Yeah. In fact, I think he left in 2018, if I'm not wrong. And so that's the other thing, right? Within Zoho, within Zoho, Sridhar is not just your regular CEO. He's considered as someone who's, a father figure. One employee said he's looked upon like a god. Whatever he says, there's a sea of a lot of young, especially employees, who will accept what he says. They will look up to him. And he promoted definitely at the time, a very vibrant, open culture where, multiple people said that, it was very different. Even this intranet, that people were very active expressing their opinion, not just some random thing that an HR department might have. So, and this is again why this surprise was all the more when the shift happened. And it was quite noticeable because, till that point, Sridhar would say and discuss things from a certain point of view. And then after that, there was a shift in perspective that didn't go unnoticed and in fact created a lot of confusion among some employees. Of course, there'd be a lot of employees who would go with whatever he says and, believe that is right and that's the Sridhar way, the Zoho way, whatever. But because of that culture of being able to speak out, it also created confusion in the minds of some employees. And at least a couple of people I spoke to who'd left mentioned discomfiture and that this shift being one of the reasons that, led to their exit. Obviously, Zoho now has thousands of employees and not all of us who work in establishments necessarily align with the CEO's point of view. But I think because of Zoho's culture, this was something that was very much in employees' minds.
So I was watching a video the other day. I think it's like a selfie video which Sridhar Vembu has done, in which he says that he lives a very simple life. He can even lie on a paya, which is a mat on the floor. But in your story, there is one contradiction that people have pointed out, that despite all this, the Vembu family, which is his two brothers, his sister, are all involved in the company. But at the end of the day, though they don't take money from VCs, they also don't give ESOPs to their employees, which has made a few people quit.
Yeah, not just a few people. These would be the most ambitious, driven employees who would feel this lack. This is again, where Sridhar's power of speaking and convincing come into effect, because a lot of people will believe what Sridhar says, that, it's okay, it's fine to not get ESOPs, it's fine to get a salary within a certain range because you're getting to do like really good work, really interesting work. But as we've seen in tech companies, especially, ESOPs are a very important part of potentially an important tool for wealth creation. So when you are someone who's really invested in the company, you're working all hours, you're very passionate about it, and you see that, the company through your work is making, say, millions of dollars. But
I think 2 billion is their profit going to be this year.
2 billion is the revenue for the year, which that's what Sridhar had mentioned in an interview. But yeah, even say if you're working on something specific that's bringing a lot of money, but at the end of the day, your salary is XYZ, and you know that, say in other software product companies, or if you were to go out and start on your own or join another startup, you could make a lot more by, especially by getting ESOP.
Hmm.
And we've seen those stories. The most famous is, of course, Girish Mathrubootham, who was a very important figure in Zoho and then went on to quit and start his own company, which is listed and become successful.
Now tell me, for a lot of people, what is of particular interest will be the political connections, right? This is something which I also try to explore along with you a bit, because I'm also curious about what
Yeah.
does. I mean, see, a lot of politicians are known to be close to businessmen. For example, Gautam Adani always talked about how Gautam Adani is a friend of the prime minister. I think Scroll had a story which they tracked the trips the prime minister made and how Adani would get contracts in every country which the prime minister went to. So it's not new that politicians have latched on to business people or vice versa, right? But in this case, there's a bit of an ambiguity as to what exactly was happening, because we knew that he was part of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh's one particular unit. But beyond that, what? So what does your story explore?
So yeah, Sridhar's political side has been increasingly evident in the last few years. Now, people have speculated about whether all of this is going to lead to him contesting the elections, whether it will lead to him getting a ticket. That publicly he's denied that and claims that he has no intention of doing that. But he is a very influential figure in the region, and especially in Tamil Nadu, where, as we know, the BJP has been pulling out all stops to increase their seats and their vote share. So here's someone who's speaks their philosophies and ideologies. He's also someone who's successful. He's come back to live in rural Tamil Nadu, not Chennai.
Other than speaking and doing his own stuff, how does he contribute to the party or the Sangh Parivar itself? He's part of any organization?
So he's affiliated with the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, which is kind of the economic wing of the RSS, so to speak. And S. Gurumurthy is, of course, the key figure in SJM. And Gurumurthy is also someone who is supposed to be Vembu's mentor, which he's publicly said. But when we reached out to Mr. Gurumurthy, he didn't want to discuss it, unfortunately. And at the ground level in Tenkasi, where he's based, he's considered to be supporting local politicians. There's one figure who I think we'll see probably gaining in more importance in the coming elections is Ananthan Ayasamy, who has a story somewhat similar to Vembu in that he also worked in tech in the US and was successful, and then he decided to come back. And if you see, Vembu's been photographed with him often. They go to events together, and he is also supposed to be supporting Ananthan's social efforts in Tenkasi as an organization called Voice of Tenkasi, for example. So it's in...
So by proxy, whatever Vembu does, Ananthan
will
reap the benefit of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we also spoke to a few BJP leaders who said that yes, he does support here and there, but it's not very institutionalized, right?
Yeah.
Now, one irony in this story is that the DMK, for example, has always hit out at Vembu, saying, and clearly, of course, Vembu is very clear about his affiliations, the DMK to take him on. But something which activists have been pointing out is that the DMK's government in Tamil Nadu also uses Zoho software.
Yeah, this is something that's come up before, and it's, I mean, when you look at it from outside, it makes no sense, right? You hear you're bashing the guy on social media, and at the same time, you're using his firm's software. And it's something that activists have raised that, that
for the CM complaint cell.
Yeah, exactly. There are issues of privacy at stake, but the DMK has chosen not to respond to it or to take any action. I did ask somebody,
I mean, just off the record, but they said that the product is seamless and the people who are marketing it do a very good job and they're very contactable. And and that person was telling me that once a government system has gotten used to a software or CMS or whatever it is, which is working properly and you
Sure.
don't have any issue, to change that is like a mammoth task. It doesn't matter who's running it.
I mean, it's their call at the end of the day, but as Srikanth, the activist that we spoke to, was saying, the issue is that the CM cell, for instance, is in fact a trove of data, right? Because people are coming with complaints across the state about specific regions. So I think he very rightly was asking why the DMK would do something like this. And yeah, I guess attacking Sridhar on Twitter is lower hanging fruit.
No, so we did have one conversation in South Central a few weeks ago. So I'm not going to go into that. It's about Sridhar Vembu's, unscientific
Yeah.
utterances. Basically, he tried to push this one non-peer-reviewed study which said that there is a link between vaccination and autism in children. So I'm not going to go into that. I'll go to the final part of the story, right, for which Indulekha has been trolled mercilessly on social media.
I'm in good company. Dhanya has been trolled even more. So
That's okay. But so basically, while Indulekha was doing this story, there's one element which she could not ignore, which is a divorce case, which is going on in California. Sridhar had filed his petition in 2021 to divorce his wife of 3 decades, Pramila Srinivasan. Forbes broke the story in 2023, saying that this divorce case has become very acrimonious because Pramila Srinivasan has alleged that without telling her, Sridhar Vembu has moved all his shares or almost all his shares in the company to the names of his sister and brother. So in California, now men's rights activists in India are going to be shocked, but in California, if you're married and you gain assets after your marriage, man or woman, when you get divorced, 50-50 it has to go to either spouse, right? So she's saying that what I should have got, and they have a son with special needs, those shares have been shifted to the family. Now, till this had been reported, it had got wide coverage in 2023, and Sridhar Vembu had said that these are just venomous allegations against him. Now, while Indulekha was researching for the story, she stumbled on the fact that a lot of development has happened in that case, where in 2024, Pramila made a very grave allegation that after giving away the share, this is an allegation, after giving away all his shares to the family members in the Indian Zoho company, there's an American arm of the Zoho company, which also they were trying to give to a friend of his called Tony, which
co-founder of Zoho.
and what the court does is surprising. It tells Sridhar Vembu to post a bond of $1.7 billion. Imagine how many zeros. In fact, the court in the order spells out the zeros, right? So this is an order from January 2025. Yes, 1 year before. You heard that right. And he has not posted that bond. The bond is just for safekeeping, right? In case the case goes in her favor, the US court needs some money in a bond which can be given to her. But Sridhar Vembu has been appealing against it and he is not given. So when Indulekha discovered it, we decided to publish a news story first before publishing the profile.
Firstly, it's not reported anywhere previously. People are saying that it's old. It's 1 year old. Did you have that information before? No. Is it a news value? I would say definitely. And
why is it of news value? Why is somebody's personal affair of news value?
So Sridhar is, people have, as they do on Twitter, have said, why you writing about personal lives? It's yellow journalism, etc., etc. Yeah. But we have to remember that, one, the kind of very public figure that Sridhar is, that he's positioned himself to be. So the allegations that Pramila has raised, and even more importantly, the orders and the findings of the court are that at this point in Jan 2025, that Sridhar has not been transparent about his, financial transactions. They've paused a Zoho restructuring that was underway. I find these very significant. Zoho is a huge company. Zoho Corp is an important subsidiary of, Zoho in India. In fact, it's why it was very important for Pramila to ask the court to intervene is because a significant chunk of revenue for Zoho would be from the US subsidiary. And for for Pramila, that is, after her first allegation of the movement of shares, it's probably the most significant remaining.
This new movement happens while the case is going on.
Yes. So, and it's being, Pramila discovers it by pure chance. I hope you, those who are watching it, read the story and get details on how that happens.
So the point is, we don't know how this divorce case is going to end up.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
in fact, relatively, early days in a sense, because it's a pre-trial stage. It'll go to trial most likely.
We don't even know whether Pramila is going to get any relief, whether Sridhar Vembu is going to get relief. All that will happen later and we'll report it then. But the point is, we stumbled on this unreported fact and we decided to report it because we have the documents. And that is very simple journalism. Now, why did you do it after 1 year? Let's say somebody discovered it after 3 years. Forbes discovered the case in 2023 when the case was filed in 2021. So, did we ask then, why did you report it 2 years later? There are so many things that we discover. Now, as an organization, should people report on divorce cases? Not every time. That's not something that we report on at all. But this was incidental. This was important because of the public persona that he projects, right?
There's one more thing that came to my attention and which, in fact, led me to, pursue the divorce angle and the whole stake sale is, this fact blows my mind when you think about it, that Sridhar Vembu is, if you say Zoho, the name that comes to mind is Sridhar Vembu, right? He spent, over 2 decades as a CEO of the company. He's the public face. He's the one who built the company. But how much stake does he own in the company? 5%. Who owns the bulk of the stake? Radha Vembu, his sister, and Shekhar Vembu. Radha Vembu, was this very low-profile figure, and then suddenly, there's this huge bunch of articles that start coming out from around 2023 about how she's this self-made billionaire, etc. So this, just looking at it objectively, it gives you pause to think, right? Why would a company be structured like this?
And when they've not taken VC money. Like if
Yeah,
you have
it's not
chipped
that-
away your shares and you don't have enough, then that's understandable. It has stayed within the family itself, right? So thank you very much, Indulekha. And to all those watching, listening, do log in to subscribe and read that story. We have in fact been publishing a few profiles. One is of course Indulekha's Nikhil Kamath. There was a not so nice profile by Nidhi Suresh. In the sense, the profile is good to read, but it's of Pulsar Suni, the criminal who was involved in the rape case in Kerala. We had a profile on Judge Hani Varghese who heard that case. We also had a profile on lawyer Raman Pillai and the cop by Paulo. So I think it's been 6 or 7 profiles in the last few months, and most of them behind a paywall. I hope you will understand the need for us to do this kind of journalism and be supportive and go read that story and tell us what you think. You can write to us at southcentral@thenewsminute.com or write in the comments.